and scene change. And boy, I hope that was smooth and amazing. Let's do this. I have this piece of, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and check and make sure that the Brio is still set. Nope, it has decided to automatically focus, even though I told it not to do that the last time I did this. Done. Okay. It says it's locked. I don't know how these things work. I'm just not very good at it. All right. What we have here is the big mechorganic tree, which heads up into the background. And because of perspective, this will be cooler if we are looking at the bottom of the tree leaves. And so I need to play with gridding things out. Chaos Adventure in chat says, I heard and saw you before Twitch alerts me you are live. That's a Twitch thing. I sure hope that's not something I broke, because I would have no clue how to fix it. You're in the chat room, and OBS is telling me I have 0 viewers, so grain of salt there. All right. I've drawn a bunch of little circles here to show what I think the leaf pattern will be, but I believe what I need to do next is to grab a trusty straight edge and bump. Did I really just bump the camera? I bumped the camera very, very effectively. And create, where's the vanishing point going to be on that? Let's say the vanishing point is here, and let's see what happens. That's not right. The vanishing point wants to be over here, I believe. Center of the picture. So I am eyeballing this. So if that's that, and then this is the stem, and from that angle, Red Bookworm says, I went to JetPens to figure out what I needed because Amazon kept giving me what Amazon kept giving me wasn't right. Yeah, I like my Amazon Prime account, but that's not right either. I like my Amazon Prime account, but I'm not buying art supplies through them. I use JetPens exclusively. In point of fact, just before launching this video, I used JetPens to order 4 more Uni Posca fine point. You know, it doesn't look like a very fine point when I start painting with it, and it dribbles everywhere. Oh yeah, that angle was wrong, because that I need. I keep asking myself, I keep second guessing where I am putting these things, and these things meaning the tree, and honestly, the best way to do this would be for me to take all of this and scan it into the computer, and then draw the tree separately and lay that in the background, but I don't like working digitally, and so regardless of the fact that that's probably the best way to do it, that's not the way I'm going to do it. I'm just gonna, the nice thing about trees, even mechorganic trees, is that they don't have to grid cleanly for perspective. And if I can get some big leaves in the foreground or some large objects in the foreground, I can I can avoid needing to draw quite so many background bits. In order to draw this correctly, I think what I need to do is keep the page rotated so that I am drawing the tree from beneath. And if that is my tree trunk, that is the shape of my tree trunk, and it is receding from me, so I will give myself these cylindrical perspective bits to work with. I bet there is going to be a piece coming up towards us. Otherwise, all the leaves would be receding into background. All right, how is that? It's still auto-focusing. Dang it! I'm gonna have to open up the Brio's video configuration again. Configure video, camera control, stop auto-focusing. Apply. Very good. Isager Houch says, hello, looks slick. Thank you, Isager Houch. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. Probably slaughtered it. Okay, configure video. Done. And are we locked in place? If I put my hand in here and switch things around, it's not going to autofocus. Second one was correct. Isager Houch. Houch. Is it a soft K or a hard K? The soft one, Houch. All right. And we brush over this again gently with the eraser and try to remember which lines I liked. Ultimately, penciling is half about deciding which lines are right and half about deciding which lines I just really, really like. And all right, if that is coming off of this, there is probably another one coming off. One of the Planet Mercenary artists drew all of the SB mechorganic leaves as hexagons, And man, I can't unsee that. And so as I'm roughing these out, I'm making hexagons, which is a little more interesting, I suppose, than rectangles. All right, so that. This bit of tree trunk is receding in the distance, but I probably have some leaves here that are obscuring it. And let's see, that's gonna... All right, I think that works. And that zips off into the background and begins doing its own thing. And this is gonna have bitty distant leaves on it. And let's see if that's... There's probably coming forward going to be a leaf cluster here. So if that came, pencil breaking. I don't know if you can hear that little click noise, that little tick when it betrays me. You can certainly see my reaction to it. All right, now looking at the cover art on the monitor, which tells me much more effectively than my eyes at this range do whether or not it's working. Yeah. Hey, let's check chat real quick. I like that clean-cut American character. You don't see many hippie comic book heroes. Okay. Rich FK asks, maybe you answered this, but what font do you use and why put text in before art? The fonts that I use are from Blambot. And I love Blambot's fonts. Just at blambot.com for comic book stuff. Boy, Blambot is absolutely the best. Absolutely the best. I am using, for most character dialogue, I am using a font called Acme Explosive. See, I don't know that I have any. I do. This strip right here, that font right there is Acme Explosive. This font is Mothership, and I use Mothership for most of the artificial intelligences. And this font, which I use for Sergeant Schlock, is Edible Pet. And this font is Man Machine, which is one of the newer ones, and I really like Man Machine. That's I wish I'd had it 20 years ago. All right, let's tidy up some of these lines. I should probably determine what Landon is shooting at and whether or not he hit. And my guess is he didn't. And if he didn't hit, then, well, let's just follow a center line out and determine the axis of his shot, because that is going to determine where, looking in chat, Chicharinoda Jessica Steiner. Oh, Jessica, it's so good to see you. And I loved the things that you said on Twitter. Uh, I know that feeling. I feel seen. You're awesome. Okay. I gotta figure out who he is shooting at and where I want them in the picture. Now, the tree, I did some arc shape defining the borders of the tree. The tree is probably going to extend off the edge there, and oh wait, that is not nearly big enough. No, the tree is gonna all the way to there, and if the tree runs all the way to there, that is a hand, 2 fingers off the center line, hand and 2 fingers off the center line here means, yeah, it's all the way off the page. So scribble, scribble, scribble. Okay, now what that means, of course, is that there would be tree in the background here, and I ought to try drawing something that isn't tree in order to further establish scale. Show of hands. I'm kidding. How many of you remember the movie Monsters versus Aliens, where we are in the foreground looking at the bug, and then the blob, and then the creature from the Black Lagoon. And as we look at these characters, and creature from the Black Lagoon, and then Ginormica, sorry, Susan, and then way in the distance, the giant robot. I don't remember if we had the big bug. Oh, yeah, we did have the big bug in the scene with Susan as well, I believe. And by staggering scale, oh, and the other thing that's way in the background was the Golden Gate Bridge. I think it was the Golden Gate Bridge. Bridge, famous bridge. And we know how big bridges are. We know how big people are. We had established how big a giant person was. I need to accomplish the same sort of thing here, where we know how big a person is, we know how big Schlock is, we have a pretty good idea of how big a polar bear is, and how big an elephant is. And so as we follow this through line, we are seeing things get bigger in the distance. This tree is big enough that this elephant would be about that big if he were inside one of the buildings. So connecting those lines, you know, top of the elephant's head to here, bottom of the elephant's feet to here, that perspective, how do I establish that scale of things between us and the tree? And the answer, spaceship. I'm going to put a spaceship in here. The spaceship that was engaged in these fights was the Broken Wind, and I have a reference art of Broken Wind that I can grab. He says confidently, showing everyone his backside, this is art for Broken Wind that I used for, what did I use it for? The ship coin. Used it for the ship coin we did with the last book release. So I take this piece of reference art, and on a camera, you can't see this piece of my table. I have a clip hanging next to my monitor that is completely obscured by the camera that's aimed at the drawing table. Is that any better? If I scoot up, yeah, I can peek under and see it. This, by the way, is the concept art. This was from I think one of my very first streams. Might have been my very first stream. And it's the concept art for the Dronuri, the aliens that are teamed up with the dark matter critters. So I now have a picture of Broken Wind hanging up in front of me, and I need to figure out where I am going to put that ship. I have my ellipse template, which is how I'm going to get started on it. Oil Sands 1944 says that alien is really interesting to look at. I will go ahead and set the interesting to look at alien here while I stare at the page and compose. This is a very common part of my process. Spoiler, by the way, when this happens, Tagon, this character, is aboard Broken Wind. So, small continuity error between the cover and the interior of the book. That, by the way, is a staple of comics, is continuity errors between what is on the cover and what is in the book. This moment of Schlock's hand and Tagon's hand, which in Big Dumb Cover Art 4 I pointed at and pointed up, never happens in the book specifically, but emotionally it is the heart of the whole finale. Schlock wants to be there for his captain. Econorlax says, I'd say it's a staple of book covers, comic or not. You know what? You're not wrong. In comic books, we recognize it a bit more because it's one thing to have the pictures in your head not look like the picture that the artist rendered for a novel. But in a comic book, you got pictures on the inside that tell you exactly what these things were supposed to look like. And they didn't look like that on the cover. How come? MME Tully says that I've been pronouncing Tagon differently than MME Tully has been pronouncing Tagon. Yes, I have always pronounced it Tagon. And I did not realize until 3 years into the strip that his name is the middle two syllables of the word protagonist. And so saying it as Tagon makes a lot of sense. Angles of things. If Broken Wind is flying this way, then I have a whole lot of up and to the right movement. If I put him in this way, put it in this way, then I need to be careful not to link it to the line of the tree, the line of Chizulo's weapon. If this is the top of the picture, and this picture, incidentally, needs to extend higher than this point because of the aspect ratio of the spot that I'm working in. If I put it here-ish, flying between us and the tree. I need to have it flying between us and Chizulo as well. I've got to... So if I use this line, so it drops behind Chizulo, and clear back here is still in front of the tree. I think I've done a good job of establishing that the tree is an awful lot bigger than the spaceship. Who would win in a fight, the egg alien or the bugman from 7 against Chaos? I have two answers. One is, I don't know what 7 against Chaos is. And the other answer is that always only ever depends on who is writing the story. You can have an immortal, undefeatable character defeated by somebody who absolutely should not be able to take them if the point of the story was not, let's do a straight up versus match, but let's have an interesting narrative. I was fortunate enough as a kid to get to read the original oversized book, an oversized comic book that was Spider-Man versus Superman, from the 1970s. All right, the funny egg-shaped alien is getting in the way of my tools over here. Getting in the way of my tools, and I need my larger circle template. And in that story, it's obvious, so obvious to everybody. You know, Spider-Man has the superpower of prescience, precognition, the spidey sense, and the power of awesome dialogue, and the superpower of, and this, I wouldn't say so much that it's a superpower, but of teenage, what's the word I'm looking for? It's beyond optimism, altruism. Spidey wants to be able to help, everybody. That with great power comes great responsibility speech. Really did a number on Spidey's psyche. Superman, by the same token, has this truth, justice, and the American way vibe going, which means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But he's pretty uniformly the good guy. But also, he's as close to invulnerable as makes no difference, and amazingly, outrageously strong. So why on Earth or any other planet would Spidey and Soups be fighting, and how could Superman not instantly win? And the answer is that Superman, and really this is the only part of the book that I remembered, and I remember being kind of disappointed at this moment. Superman is launching a punch at Spidey and realizes that if he connects, Spider-Man is dead. And so he pulls his punch right at the end, stops, right at Spider-Man's face, and the air blast from the punch knocks Spidey across the city. Look, I was 8 years old when I read this book. I was not paying attention to the uh, literary merits thereof. Um, literary merits thereof. Okay, I'm not dissing comic books. That book, however, was very much an effort by Marvel and DC to put to rest some of the feuding that they had been doing in the comic book space. Um, and to do so by uh, sharing market a little bit. Um, so literary considerations such as were probably took a back seat to let's make sure that we have Spider-Man and Superman both being awesome. Okay, so looking up at the image that you are seeing, which yeah, on my page, that is 3 fingers wide. On that screen up there, it reaches up to the screen, it's about 1.5 fingers wide. And so what I'm looking at is half the size of what I see here, and that lets me sit back and look at that screen and get a better picture of what's happening than I get from this. And what I can see, for starters, is that I've drawn the movement streaks incorrectly. Because broken wind, I just got to get him behind Chizulo. All right, and then swoop, and through here, and swoop, and it needs to end there-ish. Now, what that lets me do is draw less of the tree through here, which was one of my stated goals. And I think I have a better communication of the scale of things. MME Tully says, should we be able to see the other screen? When you say the other screen, do you mean what I do when I'm pointing at that? Because what I'm pointing at that is a monitor that is, it's what I see chat on. It's right next to my camera. I could create a view where one of my cameras is aimed at that screen. Yeah, this is not the day for that. Oh, we got 15 viewers. We got 15 viewers in chat. Can you all help me with something real quick? Just real quick. This is not a shameless request for you to click on things. I am going to switch views. I know exactly how I muted. The Brio is not present on this second view. Okay, I'm going to pull it up again and see if you can click on them, and I will fix the muting problem later. Okay, so see if you can. Well, never mind then. I will figure this out on another day. Good answer, time to punt. I can click, but nothing happens. I need to figure out how video people do these things where there's a thing on the screen and you can interact with it, and it's awesome. And and whatever else. But today is not the day for that. All right, so I've got BW up here, Broken Wind / Breath Weapon. Ship is now called Breath Weapon because I got tired of not making the fart joke. So Breath Weapon is up here, and I need to render all of the little gribblies on it in very fine lines to help establish our distance from it. Okay, we're going to try this little eraser pencil that I tried during BDO or BDA, Big Dumb, BDCA, Big Dumb Cover Art 4, and which had started smearing chocolate brown whatever on the page, which is exceedingly non-optimal for art. All right, so I've got a little bit of grid structure in there, and now I'm checking the reference piece, which is off camera from you guys. And you know what? If I were smart, I would clip it vertically now that I've decided on an angle for the ship, so that I have the have all the gribblies rotated correctly. Red Bookworm says, quit dipping your pencils in chocolate fondue. 1, that's probably not chocolate. 2, Red Bookworm, I trust you because of our interactions in other places. You actually have channel moderation ability. So if you're feeling moderatorial, if something shows up and you think it should be nuked, try that out, see if it works. Please don't try that out on people we like. And detail, and that's sort of a scoopy bubble, and that, and then this is big, it's almost shark tooth shape. Red Bookworm says, I promise to be nice-ish. Time to Punt says, what do I have to do here to get nuked? Look, as a professional humorist, I have a huge range of possible answers to that question, all of which would be funny, and none of which would necessarily contribute to channel health. So let's just say don't post spam, and don't be mean to other people, and leave it at that. All right, I keep rotating it out of the camera angle. Sorry about that. Okay, and then the top of the ship, I've drawn this grid pattern, and you know it's not very true to the Awafan design to have, you know, grid-y, -ish, grid-ish designs on things, but it sure helps with making them look like big and metal. So I'm keeping them. All right, and then this band on the ship, freehanding perspective on a cylinder is not one of my favorite things. and I have created a universe in which I have to all the time. This is where all of the boats are parked. But at this point in the story, I don't think, well, it doesn't matter whether or not there are boats on it. From this angle, they're not very big. Yeah, what I need to do is I need to get the spacing right and worry about the sizes and the shapes later. Such tedious. Okay, now there is a big spaceship blasting through. Blasting through the scene. Polarin says, you seem to like round things in your universe. Yeah, I got my start depending an awful lot on circle templates, and decided at some point that I was just going to own that and make the most efficient design for a starship's power plant be a circle. I've decided to change the path that BW is taking. It can't intersect that blade. I can't curve it. I'm going to curve it through the tip of the blade so that it doesn't confuse that line. Have you ever taken a photo and realized after the photo that you had a lamppost or something sticking out of somebody's head? You know, for instance, if you look at my head, if I position myself here, I now have this thing growing at the top of my head. If we were to draw me in line art and outline my head and then outline the cabinet behind me, it would look ridiculous, even though it's absolutely the shape of my office. This drives a lot of my design decisions, of my composition decisions in cover pieces like this. I need to make sure that things are not sprouting out of other things. And if I have reached a point at which correct anatomy or correct architecture or canonical whatever requires that these things intersect in that way, I need to err on the side of don't make those things stick out. Oh, Sandra Taylor has joined the chat. Hey, Sandra. You, like Red Bookworm, have moderatorial privileges in this room, which only makes sense because Sandra, unlike anybody else in chat, has the ability to actually walk into this room and smack me. So we can argue all day about who might or might not be in charge of this. Yeah, I finally screwed my courage to the wall and decided to get out a pen and attempt inking. Because this is the point at which things will start to go wrong. That one looks too low. That's either too low or that's too high. Easier to take the too high one down, and then begin pulling it around. All right. Okay. I stopped talking because I need to breathe. Yeah. All right. Whew. Time for a finer point. Flip it upside down. Boy, I sure hope I got these in the right place. Nope. That one's wrong. Yeah, that's just blech. I'm drawing it in the comic, I will just scribble these things in at high speed. And hope nobody's paying attention. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Okay. And then that should stick out a little further, as should that. And that's going to need to be trimmed. Still looks kind of icky, but I say good enough for now. All right. Let's see if Mr. French Curve is shaped correctly for this line. I'm going to bet that he's not. Is he shaped correctly for any of that line. That looks pretty good. When I'm drawing these movement lines, it is important that they feel smooth, that they inscribe these perfect arcs. Bumped the camera with my head. That was awesome. All right, which means that is no longer accurate. And then yeah, we're gonna need to fake this one. So this curves, and this is straight. And then as they meet, they swoop. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can make a mess of it. You can tell I really just want to be able to trace it along the tool rather than trying to fan it. And so, screw it. I'm just gonna go. That is a piece of an ear. All right. That absolutely won't work. That other one's got to be. That other one's got to be free-handed. Grr. Arg. Free-handed, he says. No, that's not gonna. Yeah. I'm gonna cheat. This point is the point at which my grip on the French curve will almost certainly slip and leave me with a terrible, terrible line. Okay. There's a lot of slop in there. That line looks pretty good. And then fatten it. as we move closer to the ship, easier to fatten it and go thin as I move away. Yeah. Well, this piece of the project began with me asking the question, what is Landon shooting at? And I still haven't gotten around to answering it. But we are in much better shape than we were in before. This is yeah, this is shaping up nicely. Okay, I got some other tufts in armor here in the background, to establishing that there are other characters present. Okay, Landon is shooting. He's probably shooting at a Soshiko, and so having a visible Soshiko might be cool. They're really neat to look at. Would he be hitting it? Is that putting something actually exploding on the cover? See, I've already got the big energy beam flare, so if his shot has missed because the Sashiko curled around it, that'll look cool. Right? That'll look cool. Suborned crypt spider. Oh, that's right. We had crypt spiders in this book. I don't remember where they showed up. Sandra is doing final layout on the book's interior, and so she has a lot of these story bits right there in her head, and is a better authority on what's going on in that story right now than I am, which is fine. Oh, you know what? The Sashiko often have little patterns and detailings on their armor, but it would look a lot like that, and I need to not do that here because that will throw the visual of BW's scale, Broken Wind's scale in this picture off. All right. Again, gentle pass with the eraser to remove a bunch of that waxy old pencil so I can ink over it and not worry about my pencil lines coming up. Straight edge. And the blast from Landon's weapon now gets a complete path. Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be working. It seems to be working. Okay, well, we are about 1 hour in. I'm making enough progress here that I'm pretty confident that I can keep going without needing to stop for reality checks. It's always a question that is good to ask myself when I am working is how much more of this do I have in me before I have to stop? Because oh, Shazdar in chat says, "Who are you and why were you recommended to me?" That's a good question. I'm Howard Taylor, and I write and illustrate a comic strip called Schlock Mercenary. And right now, I'm working on a book cover for the next Schlock Mercenary book. This is the 5th episode in which I've worked on this book cover. Been doing it a little bit at a time. It is possible that I was recommended to you because you follow channels in which people draw. It is possible that I was recommended to you because you follow role-playing game channels. I participate in a streamed role-playing game called Typecast RPG, which airs tomorrow night. So I think those are the answers to your question. It's also possible you were linked because I put AMA in one of the tags. Schlock Mercenary has been for 20 years now, and lots of people have lots of questions about the story. And the story is one of the many things that I'm responsible for. So it's always fun answering those questions uh, with, I'm not going to tell you. Can you draw seamless textures? Oh, seamless. So like if you were going to use it as a wallpaper, I can. It's not a thing that I do well. It's not a thing that I do often. Mostly because it's not a thing that I need. When I need seamless textures, that is something that I typically contract out. Finalizing some of the lines on Chizulo's boot and his ear. And there should be a line defining the space between his face and his collar. And I'm just going to call that it. And then we've got energy weapon, which I'm going to fatten a little bit. I've erased over those lines enough times to make a mess of them. Looks like I need to cut a little bit out of... Ooh, how far did it get? It did not escape. Woohoo! Cut a little bit out of it here so that we can see the line between the two layers of energy effect and the layer of Chizulo's head. Yeah, nice, Howard. You got white paint all over the... We're just gonna fix that later after the paint is dried. All right, how we doing? Yeah. Still haven't done that part that I told myself I was going to do today, which is the tree. I don't want to suggest that it's because I don't want to, but I don't want to. It's hard. Tree trunk. I think if I define some of these lines, oops, can't have it coincide with Landon's shot. So that came out that way. That actually came out too shallow. The top part of it. And I'm just going to ink a little bit of time of this, committing to it in bits and pieces because so much detail. Okay. All right, keeping it. Links you want to open have to be added to the link whitelist in your extension configuration. MME Tully says, in response to a question I had earlier, I have not created any link whitelisting, so I'm certain that that's where the problem is. A related and equally important question is whether I actually have the tools here, whether I actually have the necessary extension. I'll address that on a day when I'm less excited about making art and more excited about woohoo, fun technical things I can teach computers to do. Right, this needs to be wider at the top. Drawing a shape that vanishes a bit at the bottom is hard. So hard. But at some point, I just have to commit. Don't want to kill myself with the details here on the underside circuitry of the Esperarin foliage. But I do need to make at least a little bit of an effort to give the nearer leaves some texture. Yeah, I'm totally freehanding that one like an idiot. Yeah, I definitely don't love it. I suppose I could hate it worse. You know, when I drew the trees for the story itself, I did not draw individual leaf nodes. Absolutely did not draw individual leaves. That way lay madness. Strip is daily and nobody has time to render individual leaves in a daily strip. And yet here I am rendering individual leaves like a chump. looks like it's going to need to come down further. This is the face of someone who is staring at the tree and saying, I don't want to do that. And that headspace is where I will make terrible art decisions. And so I think I just need to let that rest. Maybe go in over the top and finish rendering some of the other elements that are in between us and the scary old tree. That was supposed to be a Berenstain Bears reference, but it was a spooky old tree. That's Berenstain Bears. Let's put treads on Chizulo's boot. A little bit of detailing on his weapon. Sandra says, spooky old tree. Don't forget to shiver. Yes, yes. One with a light, one with a stick, one with shivers. As I recall, one by one they lose their tools, and they all have the shivers, and then they're running for their lives from Great Sleeping Bear, who is no longer sleeping. In order to get Broken Wind to drop into the background correctly, I am going to have to ask Travis to knock the lines back, to make the line art gray instead of black. I can tell that already. It's not a trick we can afford to use much in the daily strips because it takes a lot of work to get it right. But for a cover, we invest in the extra time. His is probably connecting there. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. I think that's working. I think that's working. I need to fatten up some of these lines so they look more important than the lines around them. There are some lines that are defining the texture of the SB city trunk and some that are defining the structure, and the structural lines need to be bigger. Thicker, bigger. Listen to me, bigger. Make the lines bigger. All right. That's a marked improvement on the tree trunk. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and allow myself to do some shading, because I really need to feel like this is closer to finished than I am currently feeling like it is. And shading, if this is our brightest current point source, shading will be in this shape. With a bump highlight here. And because it is round, I think I may want a circular cutout and a bump highlight here. And Tagon's arm. I need to not make his arm accidentally thinner. I need to figure out how much of his body I want to shade as well. Hello, Shock Blaster. I apologize for my terribly late responses to people arriving in chat. I'm not heads up watching that portion of the window. All right. Yup. I think I am at the point where I am allowed to start putting ink on that. And because of the smudgy nature of the heel of my hand, which seems to have blue pencil all over it, I'm going to start from this side and work my way over. Polarin says, for my dev stuff, I usually end up narrating my decision process, but constantly being distracted by chat. Yeah, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier work done when I'm not trying to talk. I've noticed when I am trying to quickly grind through daily micro quests in the video games I play, that if I allow myself to get involved in the chat rooms, it takes forever, and 15 minutes of I think I will noodle around for a bit on this video game has become 2 hours lost to gaming. And there are portions of this process which, if I spend a lot of time looking up at the camera and narrating things, I will slow myself down a lot. One of the reasons I allow myself to do it is that there are portions of this process where I don't know what I think until I see what I say. So it's actually pretty useful to have these conversations. I'm going to allow myself to get out my big old scary real hair brush pen, because it is so much easier to lay down wide swaths of ink with this guy. I don't have the kind of control over the tip that I should. If I really knew what I was doing, I could absolutely use this pen for just about everything I do, but nope, I don't. So I don't. I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't use it for everything. Is it kind of wasted to have such a fancy tool just for big fills? I've got the tool, I've got the ink, I can afford to keep refilling it, so that's how this is going down. Yeah, the crispness of the lines this guy can make, it's just so pretty. All right, that's reasonably not terrible. Let's add a little bit of shaded texture to the pipes and cords and connectors up here. So it looks like they're, part of the same picture. Scanning chat. Sandra says, on this end, it has been interesting to watch how having an audience changes Howard's workflow. In some ways, the work goes slower, but I also think you stay in your chair longer to get stuff done. He scowls at Sandra for almost certainly being right. Yeah, that's what that needed. That's what that needed. See, now it's starting to come together. Now it has shape. Now it has shape. Now let's see if we're ruining Tagon's rendering by shading him. not sure I like that. This pen, it's a Tombow Fudonosuke pen. You can see when I flick it to a point, the point is asymmetrical a lot of the time, which I do not love. I do not love. Shadzar is leaving us. Wishes me luck with the cover. Thank you, Shadzar. Good luck with the pork chops. Looks like he's making pork chops. I say looks like. Based on the textual information in chat, that's what's going on, is pork chops. Completely coincidentally, pork chops is what we had last night here at Shea Taylor. I did some pork tenderloin in the sous vide several days ago, and we, for the last few days, and then I sliced them and rolled them in cornstarch, prepped them for this, and then for the last few days we've been pulling them out a few at a time and dipping them in egg and then panko, breadcrumbs, and seasonings in order to make delicious, delicious breaded pork chops, pork cutlet thingies. So tasty, so very, very tasty. All right, this actually needed more. Part of what happens when you put heavy shadow on foreground elements in the direction that a character is moving is that you give us the effect of them moving into darkness. It is bright here, it is dark in the direction that he is running, which, for those of you who are familiar with the shape of this particular story, is not an inappropriate thing to be communicating with the art. In fact, it's just fine. Okay. That's looking good. It's looking really good. These lines aren't quite right. Too regular. I need to break that up a bit. Okay. Magnet. Magnet. Let's put some shading on the Soshiko. That's just going to be solid, I think. And then this piece, I think I can allow myself some of the cool texturings. Make that little indicator go away. That was there to tell people that that's how big Chizulo would be, way over there. And then reflection line. Do I want to do that? You know what? I think I want to let Travis do that. I think I'm just gonna let the colorist turn that into an uber shiny blade. Channel question: how hard should we try to avoid major spoilers for past books, including this one? I wouldn't worry about it. The I mean, there's 18 people in channel. I would be sad if any of those 18 people had something, you know, actually legit ruined for them. But it's not like we're going out on Twitter and saying, hey, here are things that happen in all of Howard's books. Does that make sense? Preserving the story for potential new viewers. Yeah. I sure would love to do that, but there is a point at which I just have to be able to draw the pictures, and we have to be able to sit here on camera and have fun, and And if you're worried about spoilers, you tune out and find something else to watch, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I'm starting to flag. Definitely starting to flag. Which, well, we are an hour and 47 minutes in on this, I suppose. Being tired after drawing for an hour and 47 minutes is acceptable. I wish I could do this and never get tired. Yep, I just absolutely slopped some ink into that lovely little cutout I made. And whiting out over it won't be the same. It just won't be as pretty. I did not put my hand in the whiteout. Well, that was crappy. That did not do those shapes any amount of justice. Oh well. Why then am I continuing to do it? Sunk cost fallacy, I suppose. Okay. Sandra says, as moderator, snipping all the potential spoilers sounds exhausting and conversation killing. Yeah, wow. That would be miserable for everybody involved. let's just see if we can do it all with this pen. That'd be cool. Nope. Blech. Right there. You suck. And my attempts to touch it up made it worse. All right, that's coming together. That's coming together. The bits under here, boy, I think I can almost just go full black down there. I think that's what's gonna make those bits look good. So MME Tully says, yeah, all black with white lines looks so much better than the reverse. Raises an interesting prospect. Raises an interesting prospect, which is, can I take my white paint pen and add white detail thingies onto the Sushiko armor plates? And the answer is, well, of course I can. That's absolutely a thing I can do. Is it, however, a thing that I should do? And I don't know the answer. I do not know the answer. This is cockpit colored. It needs to look like glass. And so I'm reluctant to go over it in black because it'll make it difficult for Travis to apply that texture to it. I will probably want to have Travis add Tagon's shadow in here somewhere. I don't know where will be best. Killerlong1331 says, what is this and why did it appear on my recommended? How does the app know I am an art student? I do not know how the app knows you're an art student. MME Tully has answers. Apparently, you chose your preferences. Um, but I do want to go record saying this. If you are an art student, there are probably a dozen things about what I am doing that you know better than I do. I just have the benefit of getting to do it for money. And so I encourage you to watch and learn how not to make all the mistakes that the old dude on the camera is making. I launched my comic strip in the year 2000 with no drawing experience whatsoever uh, because I thought it would be easy. Um, I'm, I'm such an idiot. I was really legit. I was a poster child for Dunning-Kruger effect. I did not know enough to know how very not good I was at what I was doing. I've gotten better, but I got a long way to go before I'm good. Sandra says his exact words were, "Honey, I think I'll take up doodling as a hobby." Those were my last words. Those were my exact words. Those were my last words as somebody who doesn't know they want to be a cartoonist. All right, we are an hour and 58 minutes in. I'm feeling a little tired, and the next thing that I can see clearly to do is to detail the Soshiko up here, and then it's tree, or figure out what to put in front of the tree. So it's probably approaching time to sign off. Killerlong1331. I don't. It's my first year, and I hate my teacher. She's a perfectionist. I hate perfectionism. I would rather have the other teacher of my school. The other teacher is an expressionist. I'm not going to quibble with terminology. I'm just going to say that art for art's sake and art for art students, boy, it really has to take its time. Art for money has to run like it stole something. It has to go fast. And at some point in studying art, you learn what my friend Mike Cole has said with regard to certain sorts of military exercises. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. I put out a daily comic strip because I am fast, and because I cut a lot of corners. Hey, listen, it is 2 hours in. I'm going to do a quick scene change. Also, things muted. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to have a technical stream next where it's just all me changing scenes and clicking on things and trying to figure out what works, because wow. Okay, yes, now you have sound again. The reason you have sound is that on the big picture, which I'm about to click on, the camera pointing at the table, which is the camera picking up all the audio, and it's right here. The camera picking up all the audio isn't in. Yeah, there's a button. You could probably fix it by turning off the deactivate camera while not active in your source. Yeah, that's point being, I've got a whole lot of experimentation to do. Well, this has been, oh, we will hold this up. Nope, we don't hold it up. We put it here. Big Dumb Cover Art 5. And clearly, we are going to get to Big Dumb Cover Art 6 before this piece of Big Dumb Cover Art is done. But we've made a lot of progress. I'm super happy with the way the renderings have worked through here in adding detail and emotion to the piece. And yes, I'm frustrated at the way the tree looks, but that's me hating the things that I draw. I've had 20 years of practice at that. I've gotten really good at it. So this has been Big Dumb Cover Art 5. Thank you very much for showing up. Schlockmercenary.com, and that link down here. Ooh, yeah, I can totally point at it right there. kck.st/2jfnn capital D lowercase b. Links to the Kickstarter project for Schlock Mercenary Big Dumb Object. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. I will probably be streaming test stuff later this evening or tomorrow morning. Ignore the noise. Bye-bye.